thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
No worries at all. It's not something I would usually do, but I'm quite happy to do it on this occasion.
Fantastic. I mean, to give you sort of a brief overview of why we do this, it's obviously a great opportunity for potential customers to see what customers that have used us think of us and how they found the experience with us. But actually, more importantly, the team here watch these testimonials, these videos. Especially because we're online based, we don't get to see and meet customers often. So it's nice for the team to be able to actually see, what you thought, what you liked, and so on. It really is motivational for everyone. So, I mean, before we kick off, do you have any sort of questions or queries your end on any of
No, I'm
this? Or
just quite happy to go along. Are you doing it on a question and answer type basis, or do you just want me to give a monologue? What do you want to do?
well, I mean, to start with, it would be great to get an overview as to, how you came across us. Why did you consider using us? What was your situation at the time when you considered using ourselves?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll just fire away then and just explain how you came across the radar. So obviously I had a property in this occasion to sell. So I'd already gone through the process and used a local estate agent who were okay in finding a buyer. It took a little while, probably 6 weeks or so to find a buyer. We found one which, because I'm retiring, I'm now in the sunshine and we were moving on in our lives. I was looking for everything to go ahead without any hiccups. So I sort of vetted the buyer in that we found somebody that we thought would go through the process and actually complete at the end of that process. So they came across a potential buyer who I spoke to personally. Going through British Home Buyers is slightly different because we act as the agent at the property. I was showing people around and making sure everything's okay. That's exactly what I did on the first instance. And the buyer, just to cut a long story short, it took about 5 months to go through the whole buying process because of just slow take up from the agent's point of view initially, which slowed down the solicitors. So it was a long, protracted sale. And on the day of completion, the buyer dropped out because of a change in circumstance. And I understand that can happen and people's
Blimey.
situations do change, but it became frustrating. So I wasn't going to go with that same agent because of the earlier interaction and that they didn't progress things as quickly as I would have liked. And I have bought and sold properties, a lot of properties in my past, sort of 30 years ago. When the procedure was a lot easier, it's a lot more convoluted these days. So I found it frustrating the length of time, as it took 6 months to get to completion, which I felt was far too long, even given the current circumstance where there's a lot more checks and balances than there was years ago. So I was prepared to wait a little while, but the frustration of it falling through at the end made me look around. So I was looking online and I saw British Home Buyers adverts here and there. I don't quite know how they dropped in my feeds or whatever. The power of the internet and your marketing techniques work. So I was intrigued to have a little poke around and see not so much what you did, because I'm sure the process is pretty much the same for everybody, but looked more at the reviews. I mean, this is part of a review that somebody else will see, but I was looking at the written reviews online on Trustpilot and the usual Google, the usual places you would look for reviews, and they were all extremely positive. So I thought, well, they seem to be promising as much as they can, or actively seeking buyers. So if they can do it within a short time frame, and I was prepared to give you a while to find somebody, but in fact you found somebody within the first couple of weeks, I think it was. So I was intrigued just to give it a go initially based on the reviews that I'd seen, because I know everything's online. So, you know, I wasn't going into your office, for instance, which I did for the local estate agent, and have a face-to-face, which would normally be my preferred method, being an older guy. I'm used to contact and speaking to people. But the conversations I had on the phone were all positive and giving me the reassuring vibes. So that was the initial prompt to give it a go. And say you found a couple of buyers or potential buyers within the first couple of weeks, both of whom obviously I saw and took around the property. And we did have a nice property. It was well presented, and I'd used it as an Airbnb anyways. It had good reviews and it was set up as a real nice property. So I was showing people around. Both potential buyers ticked my boxes, and the one that put the offer in, which I accepted, were the ones that were making the right noises initially. Within a couple of weeks, we found the buyer, and then obviously the process started, which, as I say, I was a little bit nervous about because of the previous experience, and we were retiring and wanting to move into Spain, etc. So it was our big
Mm.
move and the final move. So I was wanting to go things to go smoothly. And the most important thing for me, and I'll keep probably mentioning it a few times, is communication. Because normally in today's world, communication is not good in most aspects of the service industries, should we call them. Whether you're getting a train or an airplane or whatever, nobody tells you when it's going to be delayed, how long it's going to take, where to go, etc. And it's a similar sort of situation in selling or buying a house. All I was looking for was communication. That I need to do this at this point. You need this information. Obviously, there are more checks these days with anti-fraud or anti-money laundering and the surveys and the searches. So I understand the process, but I just want communication of what you want, when you want it, and how things are progressing. And that's where I was most impressed, because I don't give reviews to people. I expect people to do the service for the money that I'm paying. This was no different. I expect the service, but Charles and Robert, who were my two main contacts, went above and beyond what I would normally expect as far as communication is concerned, and that they did give me updates. They did reassure me when I was pushing Amy at Premier Property Lawyers, I think they're called, who were the lawyers that were recommended by British home buyers. And I thought, well, that will make the process a bit smoother if we use both parties who are obviously used to dealing with each other. So when Amy was not so much procrastinating or not giving me information, but if I wanted to just gently push things along a little bit in asking, because one of the hurdles was my wife's ID for some reason. It took an age to get her ID'd. So I was getting Charles to get onto Amy to find out exactly what we needed to do to get over that hurdle. And just little things like that, which are little things, but hold things back at times. And as I say, I was keen to get this progression. So the communication was the most impressive and important thing for me. And that's where British Home Buyers came out in 5-star review for me. And so it's not something I would normally get involved too much when I would have given a review anyway, but not so gushing and glowing. It was all deserved because, as I said, it was the important factor and the one that you passed with flying colours. So the whole process from the initial marketing of the property to the completion of the property was as seamless as it could have been. And I say it was just so well communicated that it made it, which could have been a pretty tense and traumatic experience because it's the biggest either sale or purchase anybody is going to make. It's a lot of money at stake, and you've got a purpose for either buying a property or for selling it, and you want it to go as smoothly as possible. And that's exactly what happened on this occasion. And by the reviews on almost every occasion, I haven't seen a bad review. And I can see why.
And was that the biggest contrast between your last agent and ourselves? Was the biggest contrast the communication? What would you say was the biggest contrast between your last agent and using ourselves?
Could you repeat that? It's a little bit noisy here.
So was communication the biggest contrast between your last agent and ourselves?
It was. I mean, that
What
was the
were the
biggest
biggest contrasts you found between the two?
No, that's the biggest contrast, and I think it's the biggest plus point that you can have because the process is pretty much the same. I mean, obviously you use different marketing techniques. The local marketing basically is a picture in a window and probably a little advert here or there. On the social media marketing, British home buyers seem to have that down to a T, whatever marketing strategies you used. obviously do get out to people either looking to buy or looking to sell. So your marketing definitely does work, but the communication certainly sets you apart from the previous experience I certainly had and what I expected as well. It went both, say it's Robert and Charles in my instance. I'm not sure who else is on the teams, but they were extremely knowledgeable and certainly, obviously, you could tell they had a passion to deliver, and that's exactly what happened.
Amazing. And did you have any reservations about using us at the start?
The only reservation is keep going on, I'm an old guy, but I'm used to face-to-face type of buying and selling. I mean, my history was I was in retail for 20 odd, 30 odd years and built houses. I've done all sorts of things in my past. I've always dealt with people face to face, so I'm not used to dealing online. I wasn't nervous, but I was a little more cautious dealing online than I would be in a face-to-face environment, just because that's how I used to, and I've always dealt in my business. But having gone through what we've gone through, and obviously everybody coming up now is more versed in online stuff than I am, would be certainly impressed by the way that our particular sale was dealt with.
Oh, amazing. And what advice would you give to someone that perhaps is considering us but not sure whether to use us or has reservations? What advice would you give them?
Well, pretty much what I did, really. Obviously, there is information online which does give confidence, and I'm sure the bank of people giving their experiences has grown and grown, and people can see if there are any negatives or positives. But the only way really is to try different companies, or really just not so much jump in, but do the research and find out if British home buyers in this case are the ones for them. But based on my experience, I would have no hesitation, and have not, whether a friend or a family or anybody is wanting to buy or sell, who would I recommend to use, then I would certainly use this company just based on my experiences.
And I guess to sort of kind of close off in a way to the team that will eventually watch this, I know you've mentioned Rob and Charles. I guess, are there any comments you'd make to them? Anything you think you've left out? Anything at all?
Well, so Charles and Robert were the main people dealing with the actual sale of the property, but obviously I had communication when I was just ringing in on the main office telephone number. Again, you didn't feel as though you were not so much dismissed, but a lot of times you ring an office of any description, you're basically told or not given any information that somebody will get back to you eventually. The people there seem to take more care in listening to whatever communication I was trying to get across and giving some sort of answer, whether it would be that somebody will give me a call back and give me a time frame when that would happen. Because normally I would ask, well, will I get a call back tomorrow? I was given specific time, within a window when somebody would get back to me. And if they couldn't get back to me, they would let me know. I was always responded to quickly and courteously. It seems to be, and obviously I've not been to any of your offices or whatever, but a very professionally run outfit who are aware what it takes to buy and sell the product, which is property in this instance.
Honestly, thank you so much for everything you said and shared. The team, without doubt, I'm sure, going to really enjoy watching this. And although everything is concluded, if there's ever any loose ends or questions or queries, you're always welcome to contact us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. As I say, I keep going back. It's not something I would normally do, but on this instance, the whole operation, the whole process that I went through, they deserve the praise that they get from me, and I'm sure everybody else that's used them. We've seen online that you do get positive reviews, and there's obviously a reason for that. You give the service that we are looking for. I'm probably expecting, not necessarily always delivered, certainly by the last experience I had prior to British Home Buyers, which was disappointing. And not just because it fell through, as I said before, I understand things can happen. But the way that they dealt with the sale prior to that was slow and laborious and not communicated as I would expect. I say that was addressed by British home buyers in the way that they deal with business. So it was much appreciated by Lynn and myself. So we can thank you. You know, we're now in the sunshine and we're loving life. So we appreciate it.
No, the background looks beautiful. The background looks
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'm on the golf course, so you can see these people chipping and putting. So yeah, I'm just having a bit of practice. So yeah.
Thank you so much.